Once again, that was the new UNGA president, Miroslav Lajcek, in an exclusive interview with CGTN's Liling Tan. So let's talk more about what's happening at the UN this week. I'm joined by Afshin Molavi from the Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. He's a senior fellow in their Foreign Policy Institute, also a frequent guest on CGTN. Thank you, Afshin, for coming back. What is the true significance of these types of meetings at the UN? Every year we see it. And honestly speaking, does anything truly get accomplished?
You know, it's very easy to take shots at the UN as this kind of ineffectual gab fest because.
And I didn't do that.
Exactly, yeah. Because this, but had you done that, I would have said to some extent it is.
Right.
But, you know, the quiet meetings that take place in the corner, as John noted, for even the smallest nations, it is really important to them. And you know, the kind of bilaterals that take place, the things that take place beyond
Behind
the cameras.
scenes,
exactly. Yes. Those can often be very important. Diplomacy is a game of inches. Statecraft is a game of inches. And if you move the ball forward a few inches after a few meetings, and then another few inches more, before you know it, you have a few, you know, feet, as we say in America, meters, as we say around the world.
You know, every year there's many challenges on the table. Migration, the situation with DPRK. This year, there's another issue on the table, and I think it's a story that has not gotten enough attention, and that is the plight of Rohingya refugees fleeing Myanmar, going to Bangladesh. Can anything technically at least be discussed at the UN? And Aung San Suu Kyi has certainly gotten a lot of heat for not doing enough to protect these refugees.
That's right, and from what I understand, she has chosen not to attend the General Assembly, probably because of the heat that would be coming her way. Look, the UN Human Rights Chief, Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein, has described this as ethnic cleansing, a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. So if the UN stands for anything, they ought to be put this issue front and center. And I think it certainly has ticked upwards in terms of importance on this issue. Now, what can happen? I think we could potentially see the kind of sanctions that we're starting to see, you know, ramping up against North Korea. We might see that.
But not at the UNGA, because John said nothing is really legally binding.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly right. It would have to be Security Council, but I think what will happen is those inches. We'll see those inches. We'll see those bilateral meetings. We'll see people come together and say something must be done about this. And I think Myanmar, which really needs foreign investment, is in a very dangerous situation right now.
This will be Trump's first UNGA session as president, as well as Antonio Guterres' first as Secretary General. What will you be looking for? What do you want to hear from these people, from these leaders?
I think from President Donald Trump, I think what I want to hear, I think what the world wants to hear, is that the United States wants to engage in the world in a meaningful way, wants alliances to move the ball forward, if I'm continuing this sports analogy. But I think it's very important because Donald Trump, frankly, scared a lot of leaders around the world by dismissing the UN, dismissing globalization, talking about erecting walls and protectionism and all that. And I think what the world wants to see is a different Donald Trump. I think what they want to see is teleprompter Donald Trump.
No ad-libbing.
No ad-libbing. When it comes to Guterres, I mean, this is his, you know, debut. You know, I don't think, you know, when we look at secretary generals, the less headlines they make, the better. He is, in many ways, the maestro of this orchestra. And I think he will get through it and achieve if he actually doesn't make headlines.
What about Iran? Iranian President Hassan Rouhani is expected to come and address the assembly. Of course, his visit comes at a time that the Iranian nuclear deal has come under a lot of scrutiny by this administration, with many saying Iran is not living up to its obligations. The UN says Iran is living up to its obligation. So do you expect any kind of back-channel discussions with the administration and the Iranians?
I very much expect discussions over the Iran issue. Back channel, I don't expect to see between the United States and Iran. But I do think that there's been a lot of pressure, certainly from Israel, and they've signaled this, that they want President Donald Trump to essentially rip up this deal. Donald Trump has been skeptical of the nuclear deal, but as you rightly pointed out, the International Atomic Energy Agency says that Iran is adhering to the principles laid out. But one thing that's interesting, Asieh, you know this, you know, you've covered these UN assemblies before. Iran has often been front and center. you know, the most important diplomatic dispute, but
it's DPRK.
It's DPRK that's front and center now. And so Hassan Rouhani may not find as many bright lights shining in his face as he would have in the past.
All right, we'll leave it there. Afshin Molavi, thank you, as always.
Thank you.